Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you about the leaked maps from Black Ops 4 DLC 1. In case you haven't heard, in Australia, a developer build of DLC 1 was available for download this morning, and lots of people downloaded and played some of the maps early. They played two multiplayer maps, the two you saw in the thumbnail, and they got to play the new Zombies map, Dead of Night, early. Unfortunately, I can't show you any gameplay from this, or Activision will lay down a huge strike on this channel, so I will link to the guy that did post the gameplay so you can watch all of this. Coincidentally, it happened to be my editor, Hayden, who makes some of the videos that you see on this channel, so shout out to him, and I hope you do check it out. The rest of this video is going to be me describing the maps and the Zombies map to the best of my ability. The first map is Madagascar. It's set on the island of Madagascar, but probably not in the DreamWorks cinematic universe. It's more like the modern Madagascar in that it's filled with civil unrest and strife. It's an overall very orange, dusty themed map. I think they went for that orange sort of clay that Madagascar is known for having over most of the island, or sort of an African color in general. They have huge trees all over the place. They remind me of the redwoods from the map Redwood, but they are the unique trees for that particular island because Madagascar has a lot of unique plant life. Madagascar is definitely the biggest map in this DLC, at least I would think so, because the map is enormous. It has tons of wide open spaces, really wide roads, lots of areas with little to no cover, a lot of second-story buildings, a lot of flipped over cars and buses to climb on, and just big spaces in general. There was one clustery little village in the middle that everybody could fight over, but overall it was a big map, and it kind of reminds me of the map Hunted from Black Ops 3, but somewhat larger. And I get the impression that it was inspired by Blackout style maps, because in Blackout the maps don't have like traditional boundaries and borders, so they needed to make unique play engagements around the sides and like little parkour areas and firing range and stuff. And looking at this map, it looks like they took some design elements from Blackout and put it in a proper multiplayer map. The second map is called Elevation. It's set in Nepal, probably near Mount Everest, and it's very blue themed, which is completely the opposite of the first map that was previewed, being Madagascar. And it has a sort of Western Oriental look to everything. It's very, like, I don't know how you'd say, like Nepal, Tibet, sort of mountainous, Caucasus, Asian region. It's not quite Chinese like you would think of it, but you'll recognize it almost immediately. Tibetan monks is what'll come to mind. Definitely the small map of the set. Mostly tight alleyways, lots of stairs, given that the map is called Elevation. There's a lot of climbing up and down in second stories, and overall just very clustery. It's going to be a very shotgun and SMG heavy map. It does have one bigger firing path near the middle. I don't want to call it a big firing path because that would be misleading, but it's a slightly larger one you could probably work with rifles. And finally today, let's talk about Dead of Night. Now, I'm not going to link to Dead of Night. I'm not going to show you any pictures, any thumbnails or screenshots or anything. Treyarch is extremely protective of their zombies, and I am not touching it with a 20-foot pole. There are new characters, and it seems like it's a story without the 9 crew, like an entirely new side story. The 4 characters are a baron, a butler, a cowboy, and a gypsy. They get invited to a party by a guy who is supposed to roughly represent Aleister Crowley. Shout out if you know who that is. Cultists show up and zombify almost everybody at the party. The intro cutscene overall looked a bit unfinished. Some of the animations were a little weird. I noticed some hands like clipping through objects. I guess since this is a dev early build, that would make sense that it's unfinished, but it honestly looked a bit rough. Inside the map itself, you have a great hall area with Atlas holding up a big ball. You have the fancy indoors. There's a large graveyard outside with fog that rolls in. There are vampires that come and attack you for mid-round enemies. And the wonder weapon is a golden pistol that you unlock from, like, get a key to open it off the wall. It's kind of like one of those 1800s Baroque weapons that are all fancy and ornate and golden and ridiculously set up with knives and all sorts of little attachments on them. And finally, in the trailer, you hear a very distinct wolf's howl for a full moon, and even though we don't see the werewolf yet, none of the werewolf gameplay has leaked, everybody's kind of assuming that there is a werewolf boss or Easter egg in this map. Guys, that is all for this short video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful, and I'll have a ton of new content coming today because there's an update, and they're teasing the Absolute Zero. We just have a lot of stuff to go over, so I'll see you in a little bit. Drifter out.